Omni Bliss, to all my reflections, to my divine beings out there. Got some stage going right now. Has some bugs or something coming in here into the van. But welcome back to another video. I'm trying to set this down right now. But this video is going to be talking about how religion creates weak-minded individuals. And setting the intention for this video, let's go into this with an open-minded perspective outside of the ego and outside of pride. And allowing your perspective to be open-minded. That's all. And putting your indoctrination aside. So, if I'm worshiping a human, if I'm worshiping Lucifer, if I'm worshiping a human, Jesus Christ, wouldn't I just be worshiping my ego? Why is it that the Bible is, why is it that the Bible is giving myself and my reflections a human perception of God? That doesn't make no fucking sense. Because you wouldn't even have known you were a human unless you were told. You wouldn't even have known how to pay bills and pay taxes and drive a car if you weren't programmed into being that. But we're programmed before the moment we're even born. The cycle is that deep. And all it takes is 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour of your time at most to see the occultism within society. And to see life through a quantum observation and not just through your ego. That means having a polar observation within situations and having that balance within yourself, within that internal compass, that quiet voice within the back of your head that can get louder if you train it to, but it will be quiet. And honestly, that's something I'm working on. I'm just being raw with that. It's there, but I just gotta go deeper within my healing journey. And yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to report my progress within that, because it's happening day by day. But getting back to the topic of the video, because now I'm just projecting, but I'm sure you don't mind. But getting back into this topic, if I'm worshiping my ego, if I'm worshiping my lower self, and Lucifer is the god of the earth, and I'm being told my God is in the sky while their heaven is on earth, tell me what that means. And you know, with the Epstein files coming out, 3.5 million documents, you know, the signs have been there. And I've been saying this since 2022, which time is an illusion, but speaking through my ego, I've been speaking since 4 years ago now, that there has been human meat in McDonald's and fast food and grocery stores. I've been saying that shit. And now look. But yet, no one's doing anything about it. When I found out, I was still on my healing journey. I was still on my spiritual journey. I was still on that, my healing journey. I was just beginning, actually. So I didn't understand the depth within that rabbit hole, because it is a rabbit hole, and you can get lost if you don't balance yourself. Spiritual psychosis. Like, so I'm sorry, I'm just starstruck, because people, and no hatred, no judgment whatsoever, do what you want to do. Like, that's just me being raw as fuck, being myself, being my authentic self. But yet, you're watching the Super Bowl, Ball of Kenyan Deity, deity. I said deity, the Canaanite deity from the Bible, which is no different than the God you worship, the God you love. It's no different. It really isn't. I seen this perspective that Satan in the Bible, or Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, killed 10 people, only 10 people after God commanded him to allow him to do so. Whereas if you go into the Old Testament, God is, I mean, if you think that's an all-loving God, why would an all-loving God have a written text to put fear into you? Why? Why would God need 7 days to create Earth? What the fuck is that? We're speaking in fucking tooth fairy stories. If you weren't told, if you weren't told what the fuck God was, if you weren't told what Jesus Christ was, you would be thinking for yourself. Not necessarily, but you wouldn't know what that is because it's non-existent outside of the script, outside of that consciousness, which that consciousness is very dense. It is very dense. Basically, you're just worshiping this God because you have no accountability for yourself. At the end of the day, you may pray for God to get you whatever you want. But really, if you just step your foot forward and do what you say and say what you do, your higher self, your future self, you will, no, excuse me, let me rephrase what I'm saying. You will attract those timelines to you because you unlock that quantum observation for yourself. You can see the choices that you make and you play them out. You experiment. You find out what works for you. Let's say, I wanna hit the gym 5 times a week. Okay, how can I implement this into my routine? Maybe one day I'll go after work. Maybe one day I want to go before work, so after work I can work on my passions. You know what I'm saying? But sticking to that, because you only have yourself. You only have your word. And I would be lying if I said I was perfect in that. I'm still learning myself. I am very hard on myself. But it needs to start from baby steps. It cannot be something up here. You cannot get here without starting from down here. You know what I'm saying? You can't jump up 40 flights of stairs. You gotta walk every single step. You feel me? So yes, that is me projecting, but that message can resonate with someone. All right, so next one. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness of this world. My bad, my phone will die. Rulers of darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness in high places. That was it. So we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but virtues, principalities, and dominions. I see it like that because what's the difference between a Luciferian angel or archangel? Luciferian, because why are we still putting this human perception on God if these cherubim or seraphim or angels, whatever, if they're supposed to be the reflection of God, why is it that they have a human resemblance? And okay, cherubim and seraphim. Hold on. I just had to research something to make sure I was credible within that. While I paused my recording, some kids started peeing over here, and that shit threw me the fuck off. So I'm trying to get back into it. But we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We wrestle against dominions, virtues, and principalities. And I say this because why is it that the reflection of God through cherubim, seraphim, angels, why is it that they still have this human perception attached to them through having a human vessel or a human head? I know cherubim can have 3 heads, or they'll have like lion heads, or whatever depiction of that animalistic nature you want to put onto that title. Because if you are this all-loving God, you would not claim any title to that. You would have no reason to do that, because the highest form of truth is silence. Our mother's nature, our source's nature, source's vibration is quietness, is peace, is silence. If you go on to Mother Nature, that's why they call it Mother's Nature, because if God was a gender, it would be a woman, but God has no gender because it is androgynous through male and female counterparts. That's why you can make a baby, right? So when you go out to Mother's Nature, when you go into that frequency and you sit with yourself, now that's when you're being taught, okay, and I'm just sitting with silence. I'm not allowing my mind to race. Oh shit. You're gonna look outside of the normalized hive-minded consciousness. You're able to step outside of that now because you're not giving your energy away. Religion, social media, celebrities, from the jump, we are basically flipped upside down, reversed, whatever the fuck, inverted, inside out, genetically, physically, because what the fuck are we living in, and mentally. Why is it that everything I'm programmed into doing does not serve my higher self, does not serve that I am? The practicing of spirituality, that healing journey that goes into that, is more than just a masquerade. Like, you gotta take this shit seriously. You got to. The last thing that I have is give them, my bad, I can't see. Give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt. And so, I mean, like what I said earlier, with the Epstein files being released, and slowly, well, now it's like, damn, what the fuck? If you are just understanding your spiritual journey, if you want to call it that, you're just understanding your spiritual journey, you're like, damn, what the fuck is going on? And you're not just brushing it under the rug, you're taking into accountability what's going on. You're not putting it on a title or whatever the fuck. It's that, I mean, I'm so grateful for you. because this journey that you're about to go on is a beautiful journey, and I can say that from experience. But it's funny how that's released and then the Super Bowl and the Olympics are happening at the same time. I mean, when I watch football now, football, basketball, and I didn't watch it, but I was watching it. I was out to eat with my girl and my brother a few days ago after we had went camping and all that, but I'm looking up and there's the TV screen playing the Super Bowl preview. It's crazy we're giving worship to Baal, a Canaanite deity, who's super in the front. The Super Bowl, basically, I'm getting off topic, but the Super Bowl is basically giving life to your trauma, giving suspension within your suffering by instantly gratifying you into titles and shit that does not matter at the end of the day. Because what did you do with your time besides waste it and give it to these higher fraternities and occults and sororities? And beyond that, principalities, virtues, and dominions. All of these energy harvesting entities and programs. Like, so getting back to the point, when I watch football now, it's like, what the fuck am I watching? At the end of the day, whatever color team you got on, whoever wins or loses, it does not matter. They're just both winners in deceiving your mindset. If you do the research into gates, which gates are basically how a biological female and male walk, hip structure, shoulder structure, clavicle, which is the collarbone structure, Adam's apple structure, facial structures, facial skeletal structures, you will see that, I can't say all, but I can say 99.9% of the men and the women in the NFL and in the NBA, WNBA, whatever the fuck kind of sport it is, doesn't matter, are inverted. And I will literally, it's just my perspective. It's just my perspective. But I will die with my truth. I will die for my truth. But I will never die because I'm dead right now. That's the funny thing. I'm dead right now. Because am I really living? If I'm living a human experience, I'm just remembering. I'm remembering and reliving a life that was given to me. Not given to me, but can I say that? Given to me? Basically, I'm living out and relearning how to be my highest form of self through self-mastery and through relearning myself and unlearning the things that Justin went through when he was a kid and the things that hold him back, the things that he allows himself to hold himself back with. You feel me? That's, at the end of the day, it's you versus you. There's no outside title, there's no demons, there's nothing attacking you. It's you. Well, besides physically, there is a different perspective to that. But at the end of the day, the realm of consciousness you allow yourself to reside at is what you will experience. And that's that. What you go through is, you're going through that for a reason. If you're in a third world country, you're in that for a reason, because of your choices and your past life choices, whatever that may have been. But that's your journey, and that's beautiful. So pride aside, ego aside, envy aside, how can you, comparison aside, how can you start today? How can you start right now to being that vision that you want for yourself and that you see yourself being in? The fact that you can see that reality for yourself means that you can attract that by being that every single day. That past, future thoughts, because time collapses itself, time overlaps itself, right? That's what I mean. Time overlaps itself quantumly. So there is no linear time construct. That's a facade. When you realize that time overlaps itself and the things that you envision for yourself will happen if you put in the work day in and day out. At one point, I didn't think I could get a camper van. I didn't think I could afford that because of the shit that I've been through growing up, but that's unlearning that. Yes, I live in California. Yes, I live in the suburbs. But never was my family living with a single mom financially good, besides when my parents lived together. They quickly divorced after that. So I was back to a single mom with a dad who paid child support, but for a minute there wasn't much money coming in. And that's personal, but I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think it was possible to find the love of my dreams within my wife. Sorry, I thought I saw the wrong thing. But within my wife, you know, I didn't think that was possible. But I had no choice. I had no choice but to believe that and to know that, because what else am I gonna do? I have trained my ego into discipline. And yes, I can do better. And that's just a part of my healing journey. That's a part of loving myself. Yes, you can do better. But how can you start? How can you continue? How can you build off of this? Like, yo, people will look at the Epstein files but still watch the Super Bowl. People will see the Epstein files, see the cannibalism that's been going on, see the baby sacrifices that's been going on, the pedophilia that's been going on since before biblical time periods, and still say Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior. If that ain't some shit, I don't know what is. That's all. Peace.